Hey guys, welcome to part two of the whole thing here. Let me get this camera where you can see me a little bit better here. Of the gun ban order from Obama, the executive protection, or executive decision, sorry, thing. Just kind of want to go over a couple things with you. I have some show and tell props. Part of the gun ban thing is going after high capacity magazines, anything over 10 rounds. This is what you know is a 22 long rifle. Most of you recognize that. If you have a 22 rifle that happens to have a pistol grip on it, that happens to have a foregrip on it, and it has a magazine over 10 rounds on it, then that is considered an assault weapon. It's military-like. The rifles that have the thumb hole grooves, so they did to circumvent the ban back in the first Brady bill, whenever they infringed upon our constitutional rights at that point. They put the thumbhole stocks. Those are going to be against their wishes and their orders. I have a buddy that's a hunter, avid hunter. Doesn't give a crap about tactical nothing. He doesn't have one tactical gun. He likes wood stocks. He likes bolt actions. You know, if it's single shot or you load a couple 3 in through the breech, kind of like the old Mosin and Gaunt's and stuff like that. He likes those bolt action rifles, and he likes to deer hunt. Loves to get deer. And he has the thumbhole stock in one of his rifles, and he loves it. But he uses it deer hunting, and that is not going to be allowed because that makes it military-like, because it's a hand grip on the firearm. So this is some of the extremities that they're doing. There's this extreme stuff. Of course, this is a 9mm. Probably know what this is. This is a 5.56 and a 7.62 by 39. Actually, this is actually a 223 55 grain. It's actually not a 5.56. Few people realize there is a slight difference in the powder load behind the two, but there is a difference. This is a little bit lower, and this is usually the civilian one. This is what people usually buy in the store, is a 223 versus the 5.56. They're a little less powerful, actually, than the military rounds, for those that didn't know. So, and some 223 firearms are not rated for 5.56 ammo because there's higher pressure, and you can mess up your barrel. FYI. Of course, this goes for an AK-47, 7.62 by 39. So, these are the big scary rounds that everyone's worried about. Now, here's something funny I just want to show you. This round, it's a 22 caliber. Here's a 22 long rifle right beside it. Oh, look. What? Oh, they're the same round. I use the same rod to clean my AR-15 as I do to clean my 22 long rifle. Come on. This is the big, scary, high-powered round that got everyone up in a fuss and a tizzy. Well, let me show you something else funny. 7.62 by 54R Russian. Excuse me, butterfingers. This is surplus ammo from World War II for a World War II rifle, the Mosin and Gaunt, which I just mentioned earlier. The funny thing about this one is, since this is military surplus ammo, it means that this bullet, when it was originally built, was intended to shoot Germans. How funny is that? And here it is, in the state of Texas, in my hands, meaning nobody any harm, except for maybe a deer. I got a Mosin and Gaunt because I wanted a high-power rifle to go deer hunting with, and something I could have enough caliber behind it that I could go shoot some bigger game, maybe some moose or something like that. I like to go hunt something a little bit bigger than just deer. So I wanted a bigger round to do so, and I picked up an old Russian World War II Mosin and Gaunt off my buddy 2C2, and thought, hey, that'd be a great hunting rifle. So there we go. But it's a weapon of war. I mean, that was a World War II weapon, period. Standard issue World War II firearm with World War II surplus ammo, meant to kill somebody. Only thing I meant to kill is Bambi. Okay? I want to fill my freezer with Bambi. That's what this is for me. That means nobody any harm. It means Bambi harm. Okay? It means a full belly for me, like I need it, but it means a full belly for me, and a freezer full of food. So I got a story for you, a couple of them actually. Some of my fondest memories are shooting with my dad. I grew up, and my dad had a business whenever he wasn't preaching and stuff, and he worked full time. And even now that he's kind of semi-retired, he still dabbles in it all the time, the shoe repair stuff. And he owned his business, and he had employees and stuff. So he would get up in the morning before daylight, and he was gone all day. And he'd come back. He'd get home about 6 o'clock at night after he closed. And the store operating hours was 8 to 5, but he was there, you know, well, he was there from about 6 to 6 on average. And he would come home, and then sometimes about 8 or 8:30 or so, he'd go back to work for a while, and he'd get back home about midnight because he wanted to finish some stuff up for the next day because it wasn't done yet. Yeah, had people working for him, but at the same time, there's just only so much you can do, and if you pay too many people to do too much stuff, too many hours, then at that point you can't make a living for your family. So he worked really, really hard. He was also worked half days on Saturdays. Well, I looked so forward to Saturdays because my dad, after we got off work on Saturdays, he'd come home, and he'd usually take an hour or two nap or so. So somewhere around 3 o'clock-ish or so, he'd get up, and I'm just chomping at the bit, like, let's go, Dad. So he'd take me horseback riding, he'd take me go-kart riding, take me to an arcade or something, we go do stuff, I get on bumper boats, whatever. But, what we ended up doing the most of, before he started teaching me how to drive, and I started hitting my later teens there, and it was all about driving at that point. He had a buddy that had a motocross track and private land out in the desert in Arizona, and so we could go out there and shoot all we wanted to. So we'd go out there and we'd shoot. He had a range set up. So me and my dad would go out there and we'd shoot. Now, I want to go through something with you. Here's part of the story. This gun, to me, is a loaded gun. And as you can see, the gun is empty. But this is a loaded gun to me. My dad, whenever I grew up, he had guns in the house. They were loaded. Some of them, not all of them. And I knew where all the guns were. I knew where all the ammo was for all the firearms. I also knew how to operate the firearms. But did I touch him once without his permission? Negative. Not one time did I go into his room, go into his drawers, go into his closet, go into any of his places that he had firearms, sit back and touch any of them without him being present, without his express permission. My dad served in the Army. He ended up working himself up to a tank driver. He was in the Cuban Missile Crisis. He was on alert for that. And shortly after that, when everything stood down, his time come up to be discharged, and he decided to go ahead and get a job and be with my mom and my sister, who was just getting born by the time he got out. So he decided to be with his family and honorably discharged from the armed forces. So, he grew up on a farm. His first gun was a single-shot Stevens bolt action, which is you take a .22 long rifle, you put it into the gun, you shut the bolt, you cock the gun, you aim, you fire, you kicks the shell out, you take your next .22 round, you put it in, you put the bolt down, you cock it back, you fire. He used to go squirrel hunting with him when he was a kid. When I was 12, he gave it to me. It was my first gun. Unfortunately, we got robbed and someone stole my heirloom. It was a nice thing to have. It was his first gun. It was my first gun. And if the good Lord would bless me with a son, I was going to do the same thing and pass it on down the line. But I have so many fond memories of it. But my dad, whenever I go, "Hey, Dad, can I see the guns?" And he's like, "Did you finish your chores? Finish your homework? Whatever." If the answer was yes, then come on. If the answer was no, go finish it, then come on, But he always was, the come on was always there. And I didn't have to, and the beginning, whenever I first started playing with them, looking at the guns, was more frequent. And as I got older, it got less frequent. The mystique was gone. I understood. I knew. There was no ooh-ah factor anymore. It was gone. There was no mystique to it. I know what they are. I fired them. But I had to go through different acts. So he would take the gun. I'm using this as an example. He'd take the gun, check it, hand it to me. I would take it, and he's like, "What do you do?" First time I was like, "I don't know." He's like, you check it. Do what I did. And it's like, okay, it's clear. He's like, no, it's not. I'm like, but you checked it, I checked it, it's clear. No. The gun is always loaded. He goes, remember that. The gun is always loaded. If you remember that, you'll always stay safe. And so rule number 1 is the gun is always loaded. Rule number 2, the gun is always loaded. Rule number 3, don't ever point the gun at anything you don't want to destroy. Rule number 4 is be aware of what's behind your target or beside your target, that if you happen to miss, what are you going to hit? And these are all later. Some of these are later. Some of these are later lessons. So I had to pass this first thing just to understand that the gun is loaded no matter what, and always keep it in a safe direction whenever I'm just holding the gun looking at it. Then when we go out to shoot for the first time, then I had to go through a whole nother set of safety rules. Now the gun's live and hot, so I got to keep it in a certain position like I did before. But whenever I'm firing, I got to look behind the target and stuff, because we're firing out at my grandpa's farm, which is where my dad lives, and so we're out there firing and stuff. So we're out there shooting and doing all of our stuff, and so then after that, time goes by. It's time for me to start hunting. I'm like, I want to go hunting, Dad. Okay. What do you do? Well, I know I'm going to be safe. I know went through the first rules, second rules. He's like, there's a third rule. I'm like, what's that, Pop? So the third class is, if you see a deer or a squirrel or whatever I was hunting at the time, he goes, you see it run behind something, you don't shoot into the brush. Because there might be a rock there, there might be something else there. You don't know what's behind that brush pile. It could be somebody, a ways away, but you can't see them because that brush pile's in the way and they're still in the line of sight of your firearm. He goes, you have to see what you're shooting at, and you have to be aware of what's around it and what's behind it, so you have a clear shot, so you can take your target out. He's like, so that way you're not careless with your firearm. I said, okay. And so, with the way I was raised and the way I did before, and I always did everything by the book, because, I loved, respected, and feared my dad. I think I've only gotten 2 spankings that I can really remember from my dad. And most of the time he would just go, and I go, okay, I'm going to go do it. Because I know if I didn't, he was going to pick me up and he would set me in front of whatever the task was that I was neglecting to do. He's like, I want you to go pick up that stuff that you left in the other room. I go, okay, Daddy, let me finish my show. And he'd go, okay, go ahead and finish your show. And I finished my show. And if I started messing around, I could feel his eyes on me. And I didn't want to look. And, because I could tell. And he would just go. And if I ignored that snap, then he would physically, and this is 14, 15, 16 years old. Didn't matter how old I was. If he told me to go clean up my mess, and I didn't do it after I told him I was going to finish this, and he allowed me the grace to go ahead and finish what I was doing, he would physically come over and pick me up and put me in front of what I was going to do. He goes, do it now. And I would do it now. But that stage was enough. So, and he never beat me. I was never mistreated, and I always felt loved. Always, my whole life, I had the most beautiful childhood that you can ever imagine. And I grew up in a very, very comfortable, happy, peaceful environment. I felt protected. I felt safe, and we had firearms. So it's all about parenting. The woman in Bolivar, she saved many, many lives because she was a good parent and took care of her kid. So this is Shaun of the Dead saying, don't forget to subscribe, and keep everything in your prayers.